The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Doug Billings here, your next governor of Kansas, in the studio of my show, The Right Side, with a continuing episode in the series that I'm doing on the Kansas Board of Nursing. This is an absolutely diabolical group of people who are targeting conservative nurses for exercising free speech, for simple administrative errors that they made for reapplying for their licensure and so forth, and they're disciplining them and curtailing their professional life, sometimes ending their jobs outright or threatening to do so, simply because of these either administrative errors online as they try to renew a license or because they've exercised a free speech right on the internet, on social media. They're doing it as the radical liberal mob usually does because their ideas and their opinions differ from that liberal perspective that the Kansas Nursing Board apparently and obviously has. So we are shining a bright light on this. This has become a serious issue for me in my candidacy for the governorship of Kansas. It is now a day one priority for me to sign an executive order that will order investigations into the Kansas Board of Nursing, and I will do everything I can, everything the governor can possibly do to audit that department, get rid of this board, and insert new, reasonable, and intellectually mature individuals on the board who will not be driven by politics, who will be driven simply by a nurse's clinical abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an issue that should absolutely infuriate everyone when you hear it. Today we're going to hear from a nurse who is Elaine Gart. She is an RN. She's in school to become a nurse practitioner, and she has been targeted and persecuted because she has put posts out on her social media platforms that the Kansas Board of Nursing disagrees with. Never mind, it's not clinical opinions. It has nothing to do with her patients, has nothing to do with the quality of care that she offers her patients, has nothing to do with her clinical skill set. It's all politically motivated, and you're going to hear her story right now. Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here, running for governor of Kansas and becoming more and more infuriated with the establishment every day. This is part 2 of our series on taking a look within the Kansas Board of Nursing and the absolute draconian measures they're taking and targeting conservative, patriotic nurses, well-meaning nurses, professionally educated nurses, and nurses who, by the way, aren't doing anything wrong clinically. They're simply voicing their First Amendment rights about things like the COVID vaccine, the jab, mask mandates, mandatory vaccines, vitamin K injections for infants. I mean, all of this stuff. And I want to introduce you to Elaine Gart. Elaine is studying to be a nurse practitioner. Hello, Elaine, and thank you for your service in the medical profession. I appreciate that very much. It's very important. You have a story to tell, and the Kansas Board of Nursing is, again, acting out and persecuting people like you with regards to trying to squelch free speech and suspending licenses, suspending people's careers, their jobs, and you've been caught up in this. So tell us, just walk us through your story. Let's have a conversation about this.
Yeah, so I've been on social media for a couple of years. I go by RN Gebhardt because my license is as an RN. My tag usually in my videos is everybody's favorite Kansas nurse. It's kind of fun. People love it, especially people from Kansas who have kind of gotten tired of the medical industry as it is right now, especially since COVID. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I wasn't giving out medical advice. I was staying within my scope. I wasn't bringing this to work. I didn't violate any social media policies. I didn't violate any HIPAA policies. I didn't violate any policies. I wasn't making videos in patients' rooms. I was doing it in break rooms or in bathrooms or in my car or at my house. Like there were no patients available or anything. Nobody would be in the room with me. And they were just thoughts I had, information I found, things I learned in nurse practitioner school that were just super upsetting, especially about the medical industry as a whole. Human rights violations, especially for women's rights violations, the degradation of men and how we treat them horribly. Mental health for men is so astronomically impaired right now, and they have no resources. So all of these things, it's just a broad stroke of an everyday person who's seeing how the world is going. And yeah, I had people on the internet who were like, "Oh, I'm going to report you." And I'm like, "Okay, I have the right to First Amendment. Like, go have fun, I guess, like waste somebody's time." And then I came back from vacation, and in my mailbox was a letter from the Kansas Nursing Board. And I thought, because the RN licenses are renewed on your birthday, I was like, "Oh, it must be my renewal notice." Nope. It's a letter from the Kansas Nursing Board saying that they are investigating me because of my social media posts, specifically by my debasement of transgendered people. So I was confused because the Nurse Practice Act has nothing about social media or transgender people in the Nurse Practice Act here in Kansas. I called them, scheduled my interview, had my interview, which I have posted online. So I have been completely transparent throughout this whole process because that's what nurses are. You're transparent. That is my practice as a nurse. That's how I'm going to give it to the people on social media. I had my interview and I asked them, "What is this on?" They told me it's because we've had some reports about some social media policies. And I said, "Okay, did my job report me?" And they said, "No." I said, "Did my employer report me?" And they said, "No." And I said, patient family, somebody that I've worked with?" "No." I was like, "So this is just for social media?" And they said, "Yes." I asked them that twice, and they said yes, just based on my social media.
And this is exactly how the radical liberal mob behaves when they see someone like you, a conservative nurse, just speaking her mind, giving her opinion, which, by the way, the Supreme Court has said anybody can do. This Kansas Nursing Board, which is, to put it lightly, a problem, ladies and gentlemen. I was talking to Elaine before we started recording. Before I got involved with running for the governor, before I got involved with the show, The Right Side, I was negotiating labor contracts, collective bargaining agreements with the unions that Elaine and other nurses have to deal with, and multi-billion-dollar contracts. And in none of those contracts was it ever, at least in my experience, ever stated that a nurse couldn't go on social media and express her opinion. This even stretched, we even had cases where nurses or even doctors in some cases were bad-mouthing specific hospitals, and they were allowed to do that. Now, of course, HIPAA rules, you don't mention patients, you don't even mention patient room numbers because people can find out who you're talking about. That's sacred ground there in healthcare. But Elaine is being targeted by the radical liberal mob and now being persecuted by the Kansas Nursing Board because she's conservative, plain and simple. That's all there is to this. And I'm going to let her continue her story, but I'm promising you that when I win the governor's race, this is a day one issue for me. I am absolutely infuriated at this board. There will be an executive order signed day one that will reinstate and give back the lives and the careers of people like Elaine here. Sorry, Elaine, but I just wanted to interject. It's just maddening. And we all, believe me, the millions of people that watch this program every month, they're all, this story is going viral, and I appreciate your bravery in coming forward. Please continue.
Right. And I am really grateful that there are people out there who are willing to give me a voice, because it is very difficult to work in an environment that can be on the surface liberal seeming. It's for nurses who have conservative mindsets, or even nurses who have mindsets that don't directly go with the status quo. It's like trying to have an underground network of, hey, do you agree with this? No, I don't. And it's like, I shouldn't have to feel like I can't be that at work because I'm worried somebody's going to go and over here and run to HR, and next thing you know, I'm fired for a false allegation.
Yep.
And that's exactly kind of sort of what happened when I had that interview with the nursing board, because they were just like, well, did you say this? And I said, one of the questions was, well, what's your opinion on the COVID shot? And I asked them, again, videos out there, guys. I asked them, I was like, are you asking my professional opinion, or are you asking my personal opinion? And you could tell in the very pregnant pause between my answer and the person interviewing me, that she wasn't expecting that. So I told her, I was like, professionally, I recommend whatever I'm told to recommend. I follow doctor's orders. Personally, I think it's a disaster. It's awful. People should not be getting this shot. They said,
and was
well,
was this an in-person meeting? Were you standing before physical people,
I did
or on
not
a
even
Zoom
get
call,
to see.
much like this? Yep.
No, it was very much like this. It was actually not even like this. It was worse. It was a phone call. They disrespected me so much that they wouldn't even let me come into the building. And that actually got worse because the date of the
Well,
hearing,
I mean, Elaine, you didn't get the jab. For God's sakes, you're a walking danger to society. I mean, come on. Let's at least have a little empathy for them.
Well, it got worse because they meet 4 times a year to go over these things. And I knew when the meeting was for them to go over these disciplinary things. So I showed up at the Kansas Nursing Board. They wouldn't even let me in there until right before.
And you have to laugh, because if you don't, you'll get infuriated and you cry and all this other stuff. It's comical. It would be comical if it wasn't so immoral what these people are doing. And they also came after you because apparently you said something about the transgender movement. And oh my gosh, they're sacred ground of the transgender movement. You can't talk about anybody derogatorily about that because, oh my gosh, it's science, you know. And by the way, and this is just me, this is not, ladies and gentlemen who have watched this program for the last 5 years, there is no such thing as gender misappropriation when we get into this transgender nonsense. That is a mental disorder. God doesn't make mistakes with assigning gender. And we certainly don't get in and believe what this radical left mob teaches children with regards to this, that, oh, Johnny and Sarah, who feel as if they've been gender misappropriated, the only way that they can be happy is if they mutilate their genitalia. And this happens all of the time. And it is barbaric to even say those words, I admit, but what a politician, or at least someone, I am not a politician, but someone who's running for office needs to be able to say these things out loud. And no other candidate will discuss this issue head on like this. I promise you. Day one, the Kansas Board of Nursing is audited. Elaine, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. So I got the most attention before the actual letter because a couple years ago on Trans Day Visibility that also happened to fall on Easter, I had this year-old video from the year before where I basically said, you guys need to like get it together. You're literally in everything. You're in women's rights, you're in women's rewards, you're in women's swimsuits, you're in women's makeup. Like this is getting ridiculous. You guys need to stop being miserable and go and sit down and just live your life.
Yep.
It was probably a little bit stronger than that because I have a very strong personality, but it was a 3-minute video. It was literally a 3-minute, like 3 minutes of your life you just wasted all this hate on. Like, come on. And so I accidentally posted it, and that was totally my fault. I should have checked it under a thread on X of a trans identifying man who had surgically altered their body to look like a female. They passed fairly well, I guess, because if you had not known, you could assume it was a female, but they were male, admitted that they were trans. And they went off of X, went out into the internet, found where I worked, and then posted it back onto X and told all their little followers, which they had tens of thousands of followers, to go after me. And my job got doxxed. And since then, I've had threats of doxing any job I get. I have had them find out, because I've had some mass stalkers, I've had them find out where I go to school at. For nurse practitioner school, and they've contacted them. They've tried to get me
kicked out,
expelled from there.
Yep.
I had some people try to post pictures of my house with my address, and they have also suggested trying to find out where my children go to school, all because I said, sit down and live your life. Like,
yep.
Seriously.
Yep. Yep.
All because I don't want men in my bathroom. I don't want men in my bathroom with my daughter. I don't want weird, mentally ill women in my bathroom with my sons. Like no, that's a whole sex-based rights violation. I do not want to see a patient have to endure getting care from a man just because he says he's a woman. Like, that's not even the same thing. You don't even know why that lady is asking for sex-based care. So why do you think it is okay for you to supersede her right to dignity because of your mental illness? Because you decided to live this way, so she has to be subjected to whatever mental trauma you're going to subject her to. That's not okay.
No,
and the Kansas Nursing Board tried to come after me for it. They asked me, they're like, do you discriminate against transgender people? And I told her straight, I said, the only discrimination I have is if I know that my patient is a sex offender, especially based on kids, and I know that I can't give them the same care that I can give everybody else. And because everybody deserves the same care, I either have to figure out how I can work with that patient myself, or because they deserve the same care as anybody else, despite whatever, I have to give them to somebody else because I cannot guarantee they are going to get the care that they deserve.
And so with a couple of minutes that we have remaining here, Elaine, have you set up a website where you're telling your story, where you're soliciting support and so forth? And if so, what is that website?
I have social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube. My videos are also on Spotify, and I have a Rumble page. Spotify and Rumble are probably a little late on updating, but everything else should be updated with the letter from the nursing board, the response from the nursing board, the interview, and my trials that I'm going with right now, because I'm still fighting them for the information of the people who have reported me.
Okay. If people are on Facebook, what's your handle on Facebook?
My handle is RN, as in my nursing title, registered nurse, Gebhardt. That's G as in Golf, E, B as in Bravo, H-A-R, D as in Delta, T as in Tango.
And is it the same on YouTube and X?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, good.
All of them have the same tag.
We'll have that up on the screen during the course of the interview for people to reach out and follow you and to offer support. You have my support, and I'm promising you when I win this election, you and Amy Seipel and a number of the other nurses that I've spoken with in this series regarding the Kansas Board of Nursing are going to be dealt justice, and we will get to the bottom of this and audit that board, remove these people that are currently serving, and insert people who are reasonable, intellectually mature, and not going to target innocent conservative nurses. You have my word on that.
It'd be great to see politics out of healthcare again.
Amen. Well, we're going to make that happen in Kansas, Elaine. I appreciate you. There's never enough time to tell these kinds of stories. We've got your information up on the screen. And you, if I can do anything for you, you and your family throughout this process, perhaps if something for you to prayerfully consider, if you want to come out on the road with us from time to time, whenever it's convenient, and speak to the people of Kansas, as I'm up on stage talking to hundreds and thousands of people, you're more than welcome to come on tour with us, as we say, at places and cities and counties that are convenient for you, and we can continue to tell this story.
Yeah, I think it needs to be heard, especially with the political bias that there is, especially in healthcare, and trying to educate people on how we can make legislative changes to make it better. Ladies and gentlemen,
Elaine Gart, who is a nurse in nurse practitioner school, currently an RN. And in school to become a nurse practitioner, being persecuted unnecessarily by the Kansas Board of Nursing. We're going to put an end to that. Elaine, thank you very much for taking this time to speak with me and to get this very important message out to the people of Kansas.
I thank you for your time, and I thank everybody who listened. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And in case you want to follow me, DougBillings4Kansas.com, DougBillings4Kansas.com. If you like this message, if you like my approach to this, we ask that you go over and contribute either monetarily or just by being a volunteer for the campaign. DougBillings4, Kansas.com. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. We are all in this together. Believe it. For Kansas. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.